Okay. Your Excellency, the former governor of Edo State, after whom this edifice is deservedly named, Chief John Odigie Oyegun. Chief John Odigie Oyegun was the quintessence of a civil service, one that you and I, I'm sure, desire to emulate. Thank you very much, sir, for coming, and I must particularly thank you because over the past 3 days, inclusive of today, you have been here. You also promised you will come, you'll be here today. Thank you, sir, for coming. May I also acknowledge very quickly the Director General of the Braced Commission and their wife, my colleagues, heads of service from the Braced States. I'd like to welcome all of you and everyone here. I want to thank you for coming. It's the third and final day, and usually on the third and final day of the program, it is difficult to get people, but you have, it's been different today. We have almost a full house. Thank you. Okay. The title of my presentation is Digitizing the Civil and Public Service in the Braced region, the Edo story. Before I go into the main text of my presentation, I'd like to say very quickly 3 things. First, I want to appeal to apologize. This presentation is not in the normal modern way, which is PowerPoint presentation. And the reason is that I had actually thought, after the fire chat 2 days ago, that there was no need to go on with this presentation, because indeed, most of the things I want to talk about today have either been directly or indirectly discussed, either at the fire chat or before then when Mr. Governor spoke, and in the course of the program so far. So I didn't think it was needful and expedient to do this, but after having discussed my concerns with the DG and of course DG Jobster, they will review that we should go on and do it. And that's why we're doing it today. So it's not a PowerPoint presentation, it's in prose. And because I would like to, a lot of the things that need to be said, like I said, have been said. What has not been said, in my opinion, is the how we have done this. And that how I like to put in prose, so that's why we're doing this in prose rather than in PowerPoint. Secondly, and this point is almost often lost on us, there is a whole world of difference between digitizing and digitalizing. Many times, it just doesn't occur to us. To digitize is to transmit paper into digital form. Really, that's one part of the process. To digitalize is to employ the use of what you have transmitted to govern. And that's the second and more important element. Therefore, this paper will cover both parts. And that's what we have done in Edo. Digitizing, which is what we have done with respect to archiving, and what CSCS has helped us to do here. Again, I'll go into the details of that in the course of this presentation. And digitalizing, which has to do with making use of what we have done by that transmission to run government. That is e-governance. So this presentation will cover both aspects. And then finally, I'd like to appreciate His Excellency the Deputy Governor. Yesterday, even though His Excellency is not here now, but there was a comment he made that I would like to comment a bit on, and I'm very happy he raised it. Because, this process is not a destination. It is a journey. And I think that's important. Because if we think of digitalization as a destination, we'll miss the point. It is actually a process. Again, I will explain that later. Mr. Deputy Governor gave thanks deservedly to my immediate predecessor in office. I'm very grateful that he mentioned that. You know, when Jesus was being baptized in River Jordan, there was a voice that came from heaven. How many of us remember? And he said, "This is my son in whom I'm well pleased. Follow him, listen to him." Just as fathers can be pleased in sons, sons can also be pleased in fathers. For me, my immediate predecessor is a father in whom I'm well pleased. And I think that those thanks, that appreciation yesterday deservedly go to him. But beyond him, I must also thank, because there's a legion of people who have been involved in this. The governor had a dream, sold it to his people, they bought into it, and they have been driving it since then. The penultimate head of service, Mrs. Gladys Idaho, must also be appreciated. And then beyond that, there's a woman who has served, or who served as chairman of the Civil Service Commission, and before then, head of service, Princess Mrs. Ine, who was also pivotal in the success of what we have done. And the list goes on and on. But I'd like to also say that even in the conceptualization of it, by the grace of God, I have been there. And the implementation of it, by the grace of God, we've taken it in quite well. And in the course of the implementation, we have had to effect changes to the original concept. For instance, it was never in the books that we should have a cutoff point. We put that in. You know, again, this is the lesson that we must learn. Even when you have a concept, everything has been, but it's not cast in stone. So you must continuously continually subject that concept to critical analysis, to interrogation. You know, if possible, regular intervals, to see whether what you're doing is the proper thing. Because oftentimes in the course of this journey, I said earlier, there's a journey rather than a destination. You find things that you wake up to and you say, oh well, this is not the way we should go. We should go in this other way. Or we just adjust the way we have been going and all of that. So we have been doing that. Beyond that, when we do this in phases, we started with the pilot phase. But at some point, we said to ourselves, if we have to do this in phases, only God knows when we succeed in completing the process. So at some point, we just took the leap. What Christians call the leap of faith. Even though we had done some analysis, and so we applied the whole thing to the whole of the service. So rather than do it in phases, and probably we still have been in the third or fourth phase by now, in terms of the number of readings, we have applied it to the service, and by the grace of God, it has been quite successful. Okay, I think I've said all that I want to say initially, so I want to thank you. Okay, I would like to begin this presentation with a quotation from the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Digital transformation is not just about technology, it's about unlocking the potential of government to serve citizens better, to be more responsive, to be more efficient and more effective. It is about building a government, I like this part, that is truly of the people, by the people, and for the people of the 21st century. So, digitalization is about building a government. What that means is that if you succeed in digitalizing the public service, you would have succeeded in building an efficient government that will deliver quality governance to the people. This quote signposts the significance of digitalization in enhancing public services, making them more citizen-centric, efficient, and effective. It emphasizes the potential of technology to transform governments, serve their citizens, and to build a more inclusive and responsive public service. You know, government exists for the people, because it's quite clear. embodied in Section 14. Government exists for the people, to ensure that the needs of the people are taken care of. And that is why in subsection B, subsection A of Section 14, it very clearly states that sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government, through the Constitution, derives all its powers and authority. So ultimately, the authority that government exercises is the authority of the people. And so digitalization would make the public service, and by extension government, serve the people better. I take this forum as a special moment of my career, and I want to believe it is the same for everyone here, particularly my colleagues, heads of service from the other presidents. To be nested alongside my contemporaries, career technocrats, warriors of governance, and veterans of statecraft who have dedicated their work lives to the public good, not for some idle prattle, but to find ways to accelerate the progress of the public services of the South-South region. It is indeed for me a momentous occasion. The theme of this retreat, leadership in the public sector, that's the theme. Whilst I believe that we're having this assembly as a very pivotal period, considering the present socio-economic climate in the country, the theme is, for me, the feet wipe out. Significantly, the topic I've been asked to address is digitizing the civil and public service in the Brace region, the Edo example. Again, this topic is quite instructive, considering the vital importance of digitalization to the growth and development of public service, and the fact that Edo has been at the forefront of this effort for some years now, blazing the trail and breaking barriers. How we're able to do that, I will let you in the course of this presentation. The other issues with the Director General, which the Director General of the Brace Commission requested me to address, that is, the outcomes of the transformation project in Edo State, have been very well highlighted. First by His Excellency Mr. Governor himself, and later severally in the course of the fire chat 2 days ago. I cannot pretend to be capable of putting it better than the chief strategist himself, I mean the governor, who, as someone put it yesterday or 2 days ago, is the vision bearer of this effort. I would therefore request to skip this part, since we have had the same audience since we started 2 days ago. I suppose that revisiting the issues we said not much useful purpose. What I would therefore propose to do is to refer to these successful efforts in the course of dealing with the main topic of the presentation whenever the occasion warrants. But I will concentrate on the main topic, which is on digitalization. I have no doubt, mind, that the services we're all employed into in our different states are quite different from what they used to be. Our experiences have been obviously different. As we saw from the fire chat 2 days ago, there's no doubt that we have all made progress, each and every one of us in the residents. But for each of us, what is good can always be better. Even for us here, it can be better. To achieve this, we must learn from each other. We must leverage each other's strengths so as to serve as a buffer for our respective weaknesses. If we learn from each other what data has done and we haven't done, what we have done and Bayelsa hasn't, we will be better together and make progress together. This is primarily what this retreat is all about, and indeed this is the philosophy that underlines this presentation. On day one of this retreat, His Excellency Mr. Governor took time to address, in his address, to explain the why and the what of the Edo State Public Service transformation efforts, and gave some attention to the outcomes which our e-governance project has engendered. What I will attempt to do today is to concentrate on the how of the project, by which I made a series of definite and intentional efforts and steps which we took to give effect to the desire of the governor to achieve the child governance in Edo State. I don't think it is still a matter of polemics that Edo has scored a lot of first. Is it in the welfare of civil servants? Minimum wage, we have been the first since 2022. Is it in the area of infrastructure development, civil and public service? Yesterday we took a trip to the Secretariat building, and our people were quite impressed with what they saw. Is it with respect to the organograms that we have reviewed? Because Those are the latent things that you don't see, the aesthetics that you see in the secretariat. There's a lot more that has happened. The work equipment, the quality of the work equipment, the organizational structure review that we have done, all of that have enabled the service to perform a lot better. Is it in the area of life assurance that we have in the service? Is it in the area of health insurance that we have? Is it in the area of the payment every month at 26th of the month of our salaries? And of course, the one that is most interesting according to our people, the 13th month salary. I can go on and on and on and on. See, in the area of automatic employment of first class graduates, which is standing policy in this state today, there's been a lot that has been done. But like I said, we are going to concentrate on this other part of it that has to do with digitalization. Because today we are the first state, and right now the only state that's gone completely paperless, from paper to paperless. And that again is something that's been quite impressive. In the 1990s, we had a bureaucracy that was one of the major employers of labor in the country. In the present day, the private sector has expanded in leaps and bounds, emerging as a viable competition for quality manpower. We have transited from the use of telegram to postage stamps to witnessing the internet revolution. We have seen how that evolution has powered systems, businesses, government policies, social life, economies, our general way of doing things. We have learned to make use of the email, web portals, interactive mobile applications. We have seen how technology came to the rescue in helping the world withstand the COVID-19 pandemic, when humanity had to conjure with the power of technology and make distance disappear before our very eyes, and time became our friend. Technology has therefore become the very lifeblood of every institution that is worth its weight in gold. That is why I cannot agree less. And I quoted Relish the words of the United Nations Secretary General, where he highlighted with considerable emphasis the power and impact of technology in the 21st century world. As we have seen in the group, with the pioneering efforts of His Excellency Governor, we have been able to recalibrate, retool, and re-energize the public service of Edo State, and the results have been outstanding and marvelous in our eyes. I make bold to say that the digital transformative journey that we have undertaken in Edo holds the potential to revolutionize governance and service delivery in this region that we fondly call the great states. The digitalization of the public sector, but it has to be emphasized that the successes which we now celebrate in the public service of Edo State were not mere happenstance. They didn't just happen, but the result of deliberate planning and careful execution. When the government of His Excellency Mr. Godwin Obaseki assumed office in November 2016, he quickly developed a philosophy of governance to guide the administration. This philosophy was encapsulated in what later came to be known as the 6 thematic pillars. Mr. Governor not only mentioned them in his presentation on Wednesday, he also drew the nexus between them. For the governor, and this has been the way government has run, the most important of these pillars is its institutional reform pillar, because a lot of the others, if all of the others revolve around that pillar. It's important to observe, and Mr. Governor has consistently opined that the civil and public service, the civil or public service is the engine of government. And so, according to His Excellency, if government is to run effectively, then the engine that services it must work optimally. This has been the central focus of Mr. Governor, and that is why he has spent those stones on top in ensuring that all the investment that we require in the civil and public service were made. This has been the government and central focus of Mr. Governor's burning desire to transform the institution of the public service. So therefore, no surprise that the very first of these thematic pillars was the institutional reforms. Here, government pledged to reform all institutions, in particular the civil and public service. To effectively undertake this assignment, government embarked on a holistic assessment of the public service and its processes. And I must say this, and it's something I must emphasize. Mr. Governor is not one governor who will take action in an ad hoc manner. he is always very careful to assess the situation. And then the decisions we take, they're usually fact-based. They're not things we just get into. And that has helped a lot. One of the discoveries from this exercise was that the civil and public service were very weak and incapable of delivering on their assignment, that is, enabling and empowering the political class, or enabling or partnering the political class to deliver quality governance to the people of Edo State. The morale of the workforce was poor. The processes of the service were manual, fast, slow, and in most cases frustrating. Workplace environment was poor. People worked under terrible conditions with very poor work equipment. Even equipment as simple as computers and photocopiers were either in terrible short supply, or were unavailable, or when they were available were in poor condition. I'll give an example. There were times when we were in the Ministry of Justice and even photocopiers were not available. So we had to move from our offices to places like Sapere Road, and Agbaba to photocopy documents. And sometimes unwittingly, some of those documents were left behind. Or surreptitiously, some of those who helped us do the photocopy kept copies behind. And sometimes when you heard comments, oh, this is what government is doing, this is what government is doing, and then it seemed as if the civil servant has deliberately leaked public information. Oftentimes, as a result of this, these things were not available. But fast forward, that is a thing we pass down. Okay, additionally, the organograms, and this is very important, the organograms of the MDAs were old and virtually anachronistic. The Bible says if you put a new wine in an old wineskin, you know what will happen to the wineskin. And that's what we're doing. You have organograms that have been inherited from the colonial administration. And we've made progress. So we needed to review these organograms. This is one thing that we have done that has been very latent because it's not been out there in the public domain. But we have reviewed the organogram of each of the ministries, departments, and agencies that we have. And that has re-engineered these MDAs in terms of delivery capacity. Oftentimes, human capacity development was poorly attended. Oftentimes, staff embarked on training programs only for the purpose of satisfying their financial needs, rather than developing themselves and the system. Overall, the system or the service was unable to effectively play a role of supporting and powering the initiatives of government. I've also said that there's nothing government does today that does not do through the instrumentality of the civil administration. Government wants to build roads. There's a ministry for it. Government wants to grow the environment. There's a ministry for it. Is he agreed? Just name it. So those who understand the way government works, and those who are good at it, like government, understood from the get-go that if you strengthen the civil service, you strengthen the public service, you're actually strengthening governance and the capacity of government to deliver on its assigned responsibility, on its promises to the people. And that's why, again, you must understand this. If a civil servant is poorly treated, if a civil servant's welfare is not well taken care of, if a civil servant works in an office that is poorly ventilated or without an air conditioner, you know that because the civil servant is in the eye of government, because government renders services through the civil servant, every problem that the civil servant has, he will put in his face in dealing with members of the public. And many times, when the public, members of the public say a government is bad, it is not really that the government is bad. It is because the civil servants that they see are not cooperating, and they are not doing what they are supposed to do. So what this government has done is to ensure that the welfare of civil servants, workplace environment of civil servants, taken care of. So the civil servant is confident when he engages with the public on behalf of government. And so the story now is changing from being evil servants, that's what they used to call us. Now we are servants, true servants of the people. Overall, the service was unable to effectively play its role of supporting and powering initiatives of government. The civil and public service had thus become the lame dog and repeatedly came under heavy criticism by the political class for this failing. The service was therefore treated with suspicion and contempt. And this was a major cause of the renowned friction and frequent blame games between the political class and the bureaucracy. The issue needed to be addressed and urgently too. I must, however, point out that government is a continuum. Previous governments have made serious efforts to shore up the growth and development of the public service beyond the level they met it. Every government has its preferred areas of attention, and previous governments tried their best to salvage the service. And I recall, I wasn't in service then, that our former governor, even though his tenure was short, made a lot of efforts to grow and develop the civil service. We thank you, Excellency. But it appears the service was broken. The rot was humongous and needed a holistic, fact-based attention to the issues. This crucial need is what the present administration satisfied. As a matter of fact, this is the first time in the history of this state where there has been a deliberate, very focused, intentional, strategic attention given to the civil and public service. In all these areas of deficiencies, government has attended to them. Now, to be able to do this, government set up the transformation team, which eventually developed the Edo State Transformation and Enhancement Project, the Edo STEP. The Edo STEP project was built in a strategic plan of action, part of which was targeted at ensuring effectiveness in the processes of government. It was a holistic effort towards rapidly growing and developing the civil and public service. But to achieve maximum impact, the team broke implementation into phases. The first of which targeted the Ministry of Finance and the subset the Office of the Accountant General. The success of this pilot phase encouraged us to extend the project to other MBAs in subsequent phases. We have now covered all the MBAs with significant success. This project is in its fourth phase, and I will explain that, which is intended to consolidate the gains of the earlier phase. I said earlier that we had intended to take this in a phased manner, phased in terms of number of MBAs. Take 5 MBAs at a time, take another 5 MBAs, take another 5. But we have to abandon that. So the phased implementation that we have been talking about has been with respect to what has been doing. We have been doing. First phase, look at it, how far have we gone? What are the deficiencies? What are the things, what are the lessons to be learned? And then the second phase, you address those lessons. And then there are some further lessons to be learned. In the third phase, you address them. So the first implementation has not been with respect to the number of MBAs, but with respect to our strategy in terms of addressing the issues that were raised. It's also important to mention that the conceptualization and the success of implementation were to a large extent due to private sector involvement in the process. Again, this must be stressed because we pay considerable attention to the cost of the fire charge to this issue. The truth is, you can't really, if you want to make progress, there's a lot that the private sector has out there that you need to leverage within. So when you condemn consultancies, you're not doing the system anymore. There has to be a point of handshake. There has to be a relationship. There has to be some synergy built between the private sector and the public sector. And that's what we have done in Edo. Anyway, Mr. Governor appointed for us a consultant, Greenfields Consultancy and Allied Services Limited, a very experienced human resource expert that initially handheld us through the teaching parts of the project. This again is something we can live with in our other states. Later, we had Green Zone Company Limited, which is the current consultant that has continued with us to date. It is, however, also noteworthy that we took ownership of the project and led from the front. That's important because what we have seen is that you appoint a consultant, the consultant determines everything. You just hide behind the consultant. That's what is wrong. The consultant is to help you, is to assist you. So you should be at the forefront, and the consultant will offer his support or their support from behind, so that you can take ownership of it and drive the process. Tomorrow the consultant may not be with you. And so you don't want to be thrown into a situation where there's a huge vacuum. You have to take ownership, even though you have a consultant leading you. We have Greenzo Limited, which is a consultant that has continued with us today. It is, however, also noteworthy that we took ownership of the project and led from the front, while the consultants provided support from behind. As a result of this project, the service has achieved progress through careful implementation and scrupulous attention to details. Success has been on numerous fronts. Today, Edo State, courtesy of this effort, courtesy of the governor's efforts, is #1 on many fronts. As I said, I do not intend to bore you with these successes. I've mentioned a few of them already. We've already discussed most of them. Now, the main topic of this presentation, digital transformation in the public sector, the case of Edo. Here, I'll take you through a blow-by-blow account of what we did and how this was achieved. The Edo State Digital Transformation Project, initiated by His Excellency Mr. Godwin Obaseki, reflects his purposeful commitment to the vision of his administration, which is exemplified by the acronym MEGA. MEGA means make Edo great again. Many people say make Edo great again. That's not right. Making the verb. Making Edo great again. A comprehensive 5-year technology strategic plan commenced in the year 2020, shortly after His Excellency graciously appointed me as head of service, and was formulated to steer the digital transformation agenda of the government, encompassing a total of 77 initiatives. Again, we can share this document with you, and projects. The plan aspired to foster the development of a globally competitive digital economy powered by technology, ultimately benefiting the citizens of Edo by the year 2025. The focus of this transformational agenda was originally directed towards civil service. However, as of today, the operations of Edo State government across its 76 ministries, departments, and agencies are conducted in a paperless environment, making Edo the first state among subnationals to go paperless. And that took effect from September 1, 2023. This transition has resulted in heightened efficiency, productivity, and transparency, ultimately enhancing service delivery to the citizens and residents of the state. But there's the other side of the coin. Conversely, it has also engendered heightened expectation. The Edo Proprietary Enterprise Resource Planning Tool, the ERP system, was officially launched in 2022. Again, as I said yesterday, that was the official launch date. Before then, there had been investment in technology. So when you say 2022, the impression that is perhaps it didn't start in 2022. The broadband internet penetration that the governor insisted on and ensured that we had happened before that time. And so we must understand that. That investment must happen before the project itself gets to its final stage. Today, more than 36,000 staff members have been integrated and onboarded on the Edo ERP platform, with over 7,000 laptops distributed to facilitate this transition. Mr. Governor mentioned, 2 days ago, and we dwelt a bit on the lease option which we adopted to ensure provision of computers for our workers. So I will not dwell much on this, but it's something that we can keep sharing so that other states can also. Edo mobile apps and kiosks in the MDAs have been strategically deployed to address gaps in laptop accessibility. You know, we said that as a voice, I think we must repeat it because it's important for what we have done. We knew that with nearly 40,000 workers, it was impossible to provide laptop for everybody. We adopted a lease option, so we're expanding the spectrum in terms of the number of laptops. But we know that 40,000, nearly 40,000 is a lot of people. So what did we do? To ensure that the gaps were taken care of, we have what we call a mobile app. I'm sure most of us here who are from those states public service have the app. It is downloaded on your Android phone, and with that app, you can access the ERP from anywhere. We also have the kiosk system. You know, rather than give one computer to a civil servant, we have a situation where in MDAs, most MDAs, we had a set of desktops, not laptops now, put together in a conspicuous part of the ministry, department, or agency that have internet. And then you can access and work on the ROP from these computers. So what that means is that, because I have my computer now, I'm not doing EGOV right now. So it means that I don't need to have this computer 24/7. What I need to do is to have access to a computer to work. And so the kiosks provide that access. The third option was that we ensured that everyone who had a computer and wanted to have access to the ROP, we brought that computer into the system, subject to certain conditions, and then we also ensured that you could work with those computers. And the final thing was what we call buy-to-own project. What that means is that government will provide funds to provide computers. If you wanted it, you could apply. But the computer in this case is your own and not government. Government will provide a certain amount of money, usually about 50%. You pay the other 50%. And the government says, the 50% that you are paying, you must not pay more than monthly at the rate of 5,000. So if it is 100,000 for a computer, government pays 50,000, you pay 50,000. But you pay your 50,000 over a period of 10 months. And so it becomes very easy for you to and these are the ideas of Mr. Governor, he just gave it to us and then we ran with it. Okay. Edo mobile apps and kiosks in the MDAs have been strategically deployed to address gaps in laptop accessibility, and efforts are continuously on to further enhance laptop distribution and ownership by the workforce. Since the inception of the paperless governance, over 125,000 transactions have been made on the EGOV platform. That's a huge lot, 125,000 transactions. The flexibility of the system now allows us to work remotely. Again, that's one major thing that the system has done for us. If I'm in the UK, I'm in the US, Kano, and Kaduna, where we're in Yola, where we're in Bauchi, I was working. So you are no longer limited by physical space. So you have your VPN when it comes to work. So you don't have to carry all your files. So anywhere you are, you can work. Now this is one beautiful thing that the government has done for us. The introduction of an electronic document management system, again, that's one issue you must take note of, has simplified interaction with documents, promoting electronic accessibility. The physical documents, as many as 50 million folios, have been scanned and archived by our partners CSCS, Central Security and Clearing Systems, to be electronically and securely accessible by staff with the approved clearance information. Maybe by the time we drill down and we have further conversations, you'll see that not everybody that has access to every file in the system. The governor of Edo State has access to every file in the system. I have access to every file in the system. The commissioner and permanent secretary in every ministry have access to every file within their ministerial domain. So that's the way we play. And in fact, it's not every worker within the ministry that has access to every file. So access is limited. Again, that's something we're trying to do so that we're careful about the use of documents. Now, in addition, and this is quite significant, Edo State has established a Tier 3 data center. And what's significant about the data center is that there's a recovery site outside the state. So, God forbid, if that data center is destroyed today, we can recover our documents. This is to ensure seamless business continuity in governance operations. Edo State, this has been in the news lately, has also successfully deployed over 2,000 kilometers of fiber optics infrastructure, connecting all 18 local government areas in the state. This was undertaken for us by a company called Genesis, currently working. So every one of those 18 local government areas is up and can be accessed. What we have done with this, and again, this is an initiative of the governor, is that everyone, both in Benin and in the hinterland, in Agenebode, in the fortress part of the state, is able to have access to the internet. And don't forget, what the governor has done with the civil service is just a part of what he intends to do. The intention is to make this place the digital hub, so that everyone, beyond the civil servants and public servants, will have access to the internet. And you know what children and young people can do with the internet. So what we have done now is to give that access to them as far as the furthest part of the state, so that they can access it and then showcase what they can do. No longer what we used to be known for. There are plans to extend the network beyond the present 2,000 kilometers, and I don't know of any other state that has done this so far. Then we are connecting primary healthcare centers. There's something we're doing with telemedicine, and it's something that's quite instructive. We have a feeling that if we have these internet facilities in the furthest part of the state, even those who have no access to medicine and medical care, in their villages can actually access medical doctors anywhere in the world. We have tested it and it's working. Medical doctors in the US of learning within the space. Public-private partnership arrangement with the private sector helps secure broadband penetration for the project before current fiber optic initiative. There has also been established a command and control center with toll-free emergency numbers to enhance public safety and service responsiveness. The state government has also worked hard on creating a framework for data on the citizens to be properly captured. The result of this is the residency identity number, a unique identifier to streamline service delivery. That is still work in progress. Yeah, that's what I just said. Meanwhile, constant electricity supply to our offices is guaranteed with our PPP arrangement with the Solar Power project. Again, that is one area that states must invest if they must realize the full benefits of digital governance. That's an investment government thought of even before the extension and the expansion in the electricity space that has now been created at the national level. The legal framework for sustainability as well as development of policies and regulations to sustain this initiative are fully in place. I'm taking my time to do this because, there's no need lumping things together, so you can understand the series of steps and efforts that we have taken. So that when you're going into it, you also know that you may have to make these efforts, or at least adjust them if need be, like we say in law, mutatis mutandis, to suit your purpose. As I mentioned earlier, these achievements have not been made happenstance. They were carefully planned and meticulously executed. But the ultimate success factor has to be the still-like will and courage of the government to see it through. You will see the steps that were taken and how the government facilitated all of them, took the initiative. It was his anyway, and what he did, so that you can also advise your governors, chief executives, on taking similar steps to what our governor here has taken. I recall that just a few years ago, Mr. Governor publicly declared that he will be the last governor in those states to treat physical fines. I'm sure he surprised many by that comment. But His Excellency made every one of it and has consistently demonstrated the will, passion, and commitment to see this actualized. Today, the public service of Edo State is paperless and has become a veritable example to other states. Mr. Governor's burning desire to digitalize the service and be the last governor to treat physical fines in Edo State has indeed been achieved. What are the benefits of digitalization? Digitalization is a hard sell. And the reason for that is that it is not really an attractive kind of investment. Why is it not attractive? It's not something people can eyemark, like we say in these parts. So if you invest, and it's expensive. So if you invest 2 billion, like we did in Tech Refresh, nearly 2 billion, you'll find that the infrastructure that you purchase, it may not fill 1/4 of this road. So when you bring that out, and you say this is what I've invested 2 billion in, people will wonder, they almost told you, why are they not seeing it? So for them, they want to see skyscrapers and conferences and children has a lot. But digital governance is the way to go. Because the benefits are just too many to be ignored. As I'll go into some of them and what we have realized here. The digitalization of the public service offers a pathway to unlock Nigeria's vast potential and accelerate progress towards sustainable development goals. As Antonio Guterres said, digitalizing the public service and effort in the direction of making governance more effective and productive. Some of the benefits which you have experienced in digital transformation of public service are as follows. Again, when you're selling these to your chief executives, these are the things you must take note of. Increased efficiency and productivity. I'll give you a glimpse. You know, those days when we were using paper, and I'm sure we still experience that in brother station, to move one file from one place to another could take a while. And if you have someone who is recording files and is somebody who has not eaten well, you have a problem. And I'll give you an instance. You know, in government, we use acronyms. For instance, HAG, Honorable Attorney General. AG, Accountant General. Even though in the outside world, AG means Attorney General. Okay, for lawyers to understand. Now, one day, I sent a file to the Honorable Attorney General, HAG. And my officer, I don't know if he had eaten or not. Maybe I should have asked him that day. I didn't ask him. My officer donated the H to whomever and recorded AG. And so the file, instead of going to Honorable Attorney General, going to AG, Accountant General. So when the Accountant General's officer saw it, he just recorded that I haven't received it. And then the file was there. Me, I was expecting a response from the Honorable Attorney General. The man did not get the file. So there was no response forthcoming. Until we have to trace. After 2 or 3 days, I will now discover that instead of sending the file, the Honorable Attorney General has sent the file to the Accountant General. And the officer, when he realized it, the officer who received it did not send the file to the Accountant General, kept the file there, in the hope that the officer will come back to pick it. And there was no further need within the next 2 or 3 days to go back there. And so the file was there and attended. So that took 3 days before the file was retrieved and then taken to the right place. 3 days, nothing was done. In some cases, when a file is being taken, there can be rain, there can be a lot of problems, there can be a lot of problems. You know, so these are the things that we completely eliminated from the system. I deal with the file now, even while I'm working here. All the work that I worked here, I treated close to 50 files between yesterday, the day before yesterday, while I was there. I'll make no noise about it. You didn't see anything because there were no files there, but I treated them on the system. So I treat the file now, go to the Attorney General. It goes to him, Honorable Attorney General. In less than 1 minute, he sees it, and he responds immediately. And you know, I also gave an example 2 days ago, and again, this example is a good one. There was an officer who had extended, even though we put veterinary in place for that, anyway, who had extended, who had stayed over, and he was desiring to stay even more. He had increased his age, had gone to file an affidavit and all of that. As somebody said to me, age depends on where you do affidavit. Somebody said that before. So if you depose an affidavit in Kaduna, your age may be 25 years. And 2 years later, you depose another affidavit in Kano, your age may be 20 years. So you decrease in order rather than increase in order. You know, the man, you know, it decreases age. But at the end of the day, when there were issues, I called him. And I said, he insisted. And he said, this is the affidavit. When did he depose for the affidavit? Just like 2 or 3 years previously, right? Then he insisted, well, we tried to find out manually, but we didn't realize that certain things had happened. And what we saw was the one that we had, the CSC. So I just put 1 to 2 and I said, I called the CSCs, document archivists, and they produced the proper one, which he signed when he entered into service. It was different, it was by 2 years. So I called his attention to it. I wasn't the one who told him to bring his retirement letter the next day. So, so these are the things that these things can do for you. Okay, so let's just go on. Now, it leads to increased efficiency and productivity. More of this has been achieved through the automation and streamlining of processes. Again, maybe I should also make this example. Some years ago, I went to OCFO at a private data function for summer. And somehow, the file just grew wings and disappeared. So when I got there, they were telling me they couldn't find the file. And somehow one of them took me aside and said, can you just do something? I wasn't willing to. So the thing was there for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But eventually it came out because they knew I was not willing to pay money. But my time had been wasted, a fortnight. But today, nobody tells me that you cannot find the file. Because the file is in the system. You cannot see, you can't find it. So that's one benefit. In fact, I'm told, reliably, that by the time we did the block B from Secretariat Building, there were a lot of files that were under the carpet. A lot. People have retired and left the files there. You know, so, but we're not going to Egypt again. Now, government decisions are now driven by data, with more reliable outcomes, even as government-citizen engagement has been enhanced through digital communication. Transparency in governance. Corruption and funds mismanagement have been reduced, thereby boosting the faith of citizens in government. By extension, there is more confidence in the institutions of government. This is one thing that the system has engendered that is very, very good. Now, there are governments that fight corruption by throwing corrupt people into the jail. But in reality, I am one of the strong proponents. My PhD was on this issue of corruption. I'm one of the proponents, strong proponents of the fact that you don't destroy a tree by cutting off its branches. If you put people in the jail because they are corrupt, you will succeed in putting people in the jail. People will keep doing it. And so, all of the death sentence, all of the firing squad that the military did for armed robbers and kidnappers did not yield the result that the military expected, which is to eliminate armed robbery. Instead, it increased. So what we do, like this government has done, is not to look at, you can't also, is it the downside now, the upstream, for those who know petroleum, but to look at the costs and the opportunities that people have when it comes to corruption. When you take away those opportunities, you reduce corruption considerably. So all of these things that we're doing, now, for instance, the fire is being here. The opportunity that used to be there for civil servants who hide files, and by reason of that, get to exploit people, they're not there anymore. So it's better to clean the tree by derooting it, rather than by cutting off its branches. Then we have also had enhanced customer experience. We have had reduction in the cost of governance, and that's very, very instructive. A lot of money we used to spend on buying stationaries and all of that. All of that money we have redirected and refocused into better things. So when people were asking the other day, they said, governor has increased minimum wage to 70,000. How will it be? I was just laughing. Because before he did that, we sat down together. And the government said something had to go. So all of this overhead that we used to take, we need to take some of it out. We know you still need one. So overheads were reduced by how much? 75%. Yeah. And we've been coping. So all of that money saved for us nearly 200 million, which we have redirected into paying the new minimum wage. So the man is the financial wizard. You know, so all of this, so it's not that you didn't just get up to say, oh well, let's increase the minimum wage. No. He had the plan. And the plan is working. That of personnel who diligently enter same documents into the database. So the fears that people have, and I'll talk about this later, that oh, my job will go because it's computer now. Didn't happen. Since 2022, we have had no single job loss. We have not right-sized, but I think we have right-sized anyway. We have not downsized. We have had the same people. We have even employed more. For 2 years, we have employed about 5,000 people into the system. Yeah, 5,000 people. And none of these people has, and this is significant, because when you have a governor, people talk, something I don't really understand. Not one of these 5,000 people or more that were brought to the system has been brought to the system and God, not one. He has not given us a single candidate to employ. And that's why I couldn't employ my sister. Even though I'm still suffering the trouble from that. At home, they're telling me, why can you not ask head of service employers? I said, but the governor, who is the chief executive of the state, has not employed the brother or sister. So, I have a good story to tell, and I have an alibi. In the church, it is the same thing. You know? So, these are the things that we've been doing. Rather than resulting in job losses, we're actually employing more. Because we have refocused and recalibrated the rules. Those who were doing clerks, we have reworked their roles to those who now digitally enter the same document into the system. Again, I'll talk about that later. We have worked very hard to improve connectivity. We have also worked very hard to effect changes to our organizational culture and structure. Again, this is something you must take home with you. The culture of an organization is everything. So you must, as heads of service, as leaders, not just as heads of service, as permanent secretaries, as organizational leaders, ensure that you build a culture around what you're doing. A culture, a learning culture, for instance, because we have just about within the ministry or department, you must ensure that that culture is built. Again, we'll talk about that later. Now, we have also worked hard. Okay, this has involved a total review of the organizational structure of the MDAs across the state. I've talked about that earlier. So as to bring them in sync with our present-day technological realities. We have also been concerned about data security and the governor and how we can leverage available data to make better decisions. Again, this is one thing that we have done. It's not just to wake up and say, we want to do this or do that. With the data we now have, which technology has ensured that we're able to make big decisions that have helped the system to grow. But the government has set up a data management agency. For me, in our different states, this is something that is a necessity. You don't have to come in at the start. You can come in later. Because all of this data that we're mining, all of this data that we're generating, they will be useless and not functional if we cannot take business decisions. If we cannot take decisions that will aid and help growth and development of our organizations with this data. So it's important to have an agency, an organization, an establishment within the system that can interrogate the data that you generate with your electronic system and then be able to give you insights as to how you use the data to work. I have to emphasize that digitalizing the public service in the South-South region can vastly improve accessibility and efficiency, as well as serve as a catalyst for accelerated development in Nigeria. By leveraging data platforms, governments can streamline bureaucratic processes, reduce red tapeism, and minimize corruption. Imagine a future where citizens can access essential services such as healthcare, education, and public assistance with just a few clicks on their smartphones, eliminating the need for long queues and endless paperwork. As I told you, what we are doing in the public service, the government intends to use it as a foundation for a leap into what we'll do with respect to the larger public. So the whole can participate more actively in decision-making process, thus increasing trust in government. One of the reasons why government in Nigeria sometimes does not work is that people don't trust government. And the reason why they don't trust government is that a lot of things are done secretly. Somebody told me that evil powers connect small businesses with market and resources, leveling the playing field and empowering marginalized communities. You see how businesses have been improved by digital platforms. Small businesses, they're playing on the internet. So you're in America, you can access what in Nigeria, small one-room enterprise in Nigeria is doing. And then you can ask for goods to be sent to you, and you pay through digital platforms. So that's the vision of this state that the government has. And that's just starting with the civil service. But it's not been challenges. And of course, you will have challenges when you're doing this. There have been many challenges, some serious, others not so serious. From my experience, the digital challenge, the biggest challenge in digital information is not the technology itself. Every tech project involves basically three parts. You have the tech itself, you have the people, and then you have the processes. If you must do well, investment must go across the line. To succeed, efforts must be made to attend to all three elements. However, of the three elements, the people element is the most important. Technology does not drive itself. People have to drive it. And so you must pay the most attention to that element. But again, it is oftentimes the most problematic, and I'll tell you why. If you get that right, the people element, you would have succeeded largely. To succeed, therefore, while you look out for and invest in tech infrastructure and in updating and improving the processes of government, you must make deliberate investment in the people, particularly in capacity development, and ensure that no stone is left unturned in improving the capacity of your staff to acquire data skills and become effective in working digitally. That investment has to be made and will be deliberate and intentional one. Okay, that's what I just said. You must build a learning and development culture. Learning and development culture. Again, that's important. More I will tell you about what we have done here. Building a learning and development culture. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not eating much, so maybe that's why I'm not saying much. Bearing this in mind, in those states, we have worked very hard to entrench a new culture and build the capacity of the civil and public service workforce through training and retraining. This has not been easy, but it was a job that needed to be done, and we did it. First, Mr. Governor has always expressed the belief that human capacity development should be the most important attention of government, and has therefore spent no resources in providing for this. His commitment has been firm and unshakable at every time. He has had to mention it. He will tell you that this is where I'm going, human capacity development. That said, I would like to add that in dealing with the human component, there's need to be strategic so as to achieve your desired outcomes. This is exactly what we did. First, we understood that the public service also often proves to be an establishment that is reluctant to change. I'm sure that's how yours are as well. Change is very difficult to implement in the service. For some people, it is as it was in the beginning. It is now, and forever shall be. And they will tell you that that's how we'll be doing it. Okay. Change is very difficult to implement in the sense, especially change that is disruptive, just as the one technology brings. We, particularly in Edo, we had a workforce that was largely computer non-literate. I use that word non-literate rather than illiterate. We were confronted with a very reluctant and highly suspicious workforce. Why? There was this palpable fear that the introduction of technology would lead to massive job losses. As a matter of fact, some representatives of the organized labor had visited me at the onset 4 years ago and confronted me with this concern. They urged me to prevail on the government to reverse it. I assured them that all was well, even though I could perceive that they were not convinced. I never brought that up to the government because I knew it was something I couldn't discuss with them. So we knew that this fear existed. It had been oft demonstrated. But what did we do? We decided to confront the monster of fear and apathy frontally. Now, the governor has set up a team, the e-governance implementation team, made up of over 90 top and middle level officers. Again, this is what you should do. Set up a team. But you must personally lead it and set up something. That's what I've done here. 90 officers, middle level, high level. I can hardly fathom why Mr. Governor appointed me to lead this team. You know why? At the time that this started 4 years ago, I was virtually computer, okay, let me use the word illiterate. So I was wondering why the government chose me. You had someone at the NBICT and several people in the system. But very, very good. But these guys have taught me computer and the language of computer so much that I now sleep and wake up with it. So, it shocked me that he appointed me. But meanwhile, we have set up transformation team earlier, and to drive the transformation initiative deep into the fabrics of the service, we have, on the instruction of His Excellency, selected a number of young men and women who were outstanding in intellect and with very strong work ethic, and made them change champions. We were of the opinion that since we already had these officers, whom we had invested time and resources to train and prepare for the transformation that was to come, we did not need to reinvent the wheel. Hence, some of these officers were selected to be part of the e-governance team. Following their selection, His Excellency the Governor conferred them with the nomenclature e-gov champions. So the nomenclature e-gov champions actually came from the government. After we achieved the paperless initiative, and to encourage and reward these crop of officers, the government directed that they be promoted by one grade level. This boosted their confidence and gave them the motivation to do that. I'm sorry, let me drink water before I run out of gas. Well, I should drink it in time. Okay. Next, we decided that we should do two things. And please listen, because this is again with deliberate and intention. We need to ramp up the acceptability of the project. If you have a project and you don't get the people involved in it, both at the stage of conceptualization and implementation, you will run and run and run, and you find that nobody is running with you. So you need to be very careful about that. Having studied the concept of change, again, this is something my colleagues should take as serious. What I've been doing, I've been taking courses on my own, studying change, leadership, studying revolutions in terms of internet, in terms of digital revolution. I've studied and taken courses, and I've been certified in some of these courses. So when I speak about these things, I speak on an informed basis. And that's important, because when you take these courses, get used to these things, including what MD ICT, is he here? MD ICT, thank you, great guy, thank you. Deliberately, this guy and his team ensured that, because I lead the team, they infused me with the knowledge and experience I needed to lead the team. But I also kept to myself. And that's what I'm asking you to do. Okay, we decided to do three things. Having studied the concept of change, I realized that people are naturally inclined to resist change, especially the disruptive kind of change, such as the one with the introduction of tech brings to a traditionally analogous institution. This is mainly out of ignorance about what such change is about and what prospects it holds for those who are affected by it. We also thought that for a highly conservative service like ours, it was needful and expedient to be autochthonous. Again, I will explain that. It's a legal word. It means from within. So you're not imposing things on people. You're making them, own it from the get-go. Autochthonous in conceptualizing and implementing the change sought to be in place. Our strategy was therefore to initiate the change process from within rather than impose it on our staff. Our thinking was that people are more likely to believe in and support the change process if they are carried along in the process of this conceptualization as well as implementation. That way, they are more likely to embrace it as their own, accept and buy into it, and then drive the process. So our strategy was to tell the people what it's all about. Go around, I'll tell you how we achieve this. Go around, again and again and again and again. And then be autochthonous, develop the initiative, even though you have the ideas. But when you come to them, show it open, and let them relate with you on those ideas so that they can understand it. Sometimes they take it on as their own. With this in mind, we decided to could name Word Round. This was a properly packaged, regular interactive sessions with civil and public servants across the board. It was a very tedious exercise that took the team, which I personally led, to every MDA at least 3 times, in some cases 4 times. And at these interactions, we conversed on a plethora of issues but with emphasis on our e-governance initiative. We threw the whole thing open. We told them what this was all about. We told them the fact that this was likely to affect them sometimes negatively if they took it that way, and oftentimes positively. And so they had to choose. Conversations were open-minded. They were very forthcoming to us because we were very clear that nobody would punish them to them, and they were open to us. Later, we broke these interactive sessions. We broke the issues that obtained their trust and confidence. Participants became quite forthcoming, and in some cases, even effusive about their thoughts and concerns about the project. Meanwhile, we had in each team tech people from ICTA, process experts from our consultants, Green Zone Consultancy on e-gov, and Central Securities and Clearing Systems, CSCS, on digitization and archiving. These exercises were a huge success. Through them, we succeeded in exciting our staff about the wonderful prospects of the project and pictured the expected outcome to them. We did a lot of storytelling. Where is Mua Aisha gone? She used to tell us about, successful in sensitization by storytelling. That's something that you must take up. Let them see the future that you envisage, by this project, and tell them stories of how this can be achieved. Okay, through them, we succeeded in exciting our staff about the wonderful prospects of the project and pictured the expected outcome to them. We did a lot of storytelling to excite them and gain their support for the project. This was quite revealing. The fact that we went to them rather than ask them to come to us elicited trust and confidence from them. We were informed that it was the first time that a city head of service in Edo State would be embarking on such service-wide visitation and sensitization. Significantly, we also assured them that their jobs were safe. That's important. We were also strategic in using the visits to elicit questions and comments about every aspect of this job. And I think this is instructive. You may not have that difficulty because we have already created a roadmap which you can leverage. But in our own case, we didn't have a precedent. We didn't have anybody who had done this before. So the conversations we had with our people were actually symbiotic. In other words, why we told essentially what they needed to hear, about the benefits of these things for them, they also helped us, told us interactions, also revealed to us from them that these were the areas that we like to encounter challenges. And so it was, we give and they give. So those things that they told us, we took back as a team and interrogated to grow and develop the system. Because we didn't have anybody that had done this before, so we didn't have a president. So all the things that we have done because of these interactions and of course our technical partners also. We also assured them that their jobs were safe. We're also strategic in using the visits to elicit questions and comments about every aspect of their work. We did not shut anybody down. And we made sure we answered all their questions, even if we thought some of them should not have been asked. We understand that because of this, our officers expectantly and excitedly awaited these exercises, these visits. Since we had also assured them that they could make any comment or ask any questions under these domestic issues also. We are not pastors. They were very cooperative and quite forthcoming in providing us with necessary information that helped us greatly in improving the project. By the way, since no other government in Nigeria had done what we were doing, trying to do, the insights provided in dealing with both the technical and process challenges of the project. What else did we do? We also organized workshops, both within the team and service-wide. There's what we call internal workshop, and then what we call external workshop. Not really external. It's for people, permanent secretaries, other people, other than the team members. But from time to time, we're doing internal workshop within the team. Sometimes we'll come on a Saturday, sometimes we'll come on a Sunday, just to look at what we were doing and then how we can make it better. Okay, these were geared towards resolving outstanding issues and driving the sensitization project deeper and removing any iota of doubt about government examination to succeed at it. Again, the steps from this workshop are useful in helping us make progress in the project. Usually, the team will meet after every such workshop to review things and gain useful insights to make progress. To gauge the pulse of our staff on this project, we also carried out online surveys Again, I think this is important. These surveys enabled us to were relating with this project and what issues they had with it, what challenges and difficulties they were encountering, and then they spoke to us about. So these surveys were used to gauge their pulse and then to see what we needed to do. The learnings and insights from these online surveys were quite useful in moving the project forward. Significantly, His Excellency the Governor of Edo State believes in building human mind and retooling the skills of workers. He never hides the fact that in reality, you cannot expect a set of workers to perform optimally. He said it on the first day of the project, and he's always said it, without enabling them to do so. Apart from the fact that we have a dedicated team of e-governors, which I lead by the grace of Ojusa, named after the cerebral pioneer civilian governor of the state, Chief John Odege Oyegun, former federal super permanent secretary, who later became governor. You will notice that I've been using the word governor, not executive governor. The Constitution is quite clear in section 5 that the governor is the repository of all executive powers, which he exercises that through by himself or through any officer in his government. Therefore, when you say executive government, sorry, this is just an aside, what you mean, what you actually do as executive powers. I just thought I should mention that. Through the state-of-the-art academy, which was built a couple of years into the present administration, we have been able to train and retrain over 12,000 civil and public servants. Since the Institute Academy opened its doors in 2023, 1 year, 12,000 workers. And I think it's something we must applaud the team for. The programs available include those on data management, computer appreciation, software application, and artificial intelligence. Yeah, on artificial intelligence, I had to request the DG recently to give us a course on artificial intelligence, which Permanent Secretary and Commissioners and special advisors. It was deliberate. It has given us a chance to move the system towards artificial intelligence. And we're working already on that. So we needed to get that preparation, which the JOSA gave to us. Okay, data management, computer appreciation, software application, artificial intelligence, just mention a few from the multitude of certification programs. Again, there's certification, for each of these programs. The Academy has also, under our supervision and the support of the State Ministry of the training of about 3,000 staff on computer knowledge and appreciation. Again, this is where the heads of service should take initiative. When I realized, yesterday you mentioned this, that there was a team, Tech for Dev, that was trying to help us. And that the thing had been installed for like 2 years. What? 2 years? So I went to Lagos. Because I knew that, if you don't get your training on the computer, how can you work with the computer? So I went to Lagos, and we ensured that we brought them back to start it. But that's something that has been quite outstanding. You must take initiative. So don't leave things to people, but be on top of things all the time. A lot of work is still being done to make JUPSA not only a learning center for manpower development, but also for research. We have an excellent team of staff here, led by the elected Director General, Precious Mwahia Jonu, who has run this academy efficiently. At this point, I would like to add my voice to that of the DG Grace Commission, who mentioned, was it yesterday, the pivotal importance of adopting JUPSA as our regional intellectual property resource development center. May I add that the Academy proposes to expand its capacity shortly. There's already a lot of faculty here, different faculties, and so we can leverage that. But even then, we're expanding. The land purpose, you can see it on the other side, has been acquired by the governor for the purpose of consummating this expansion initiative. Decision. Having formally launched the EGOL project in Edo State on the 1st of November 2022, as I said before this launch, a lot of work had gone. As part of efforts to popularize it, sensitize our workers, and gain acceptability, it occurred to us that we needed to take a major decision to have a break from the past by stopping the use of paper completely from the system. I discussed this idea with some permanent secretaries, and as expected, most of them advised against it. But their concern was genuine. How do we cope if we cut off paper completely? What about those who are not computer literate in the system? How will they work? What about the fact that we do not have enough laptops in the system? Indeed, there were all manner of questions, but in reality, they were genuine concerns. Happily, many senior officers, particularly some very key permanent secretaries, and I must appreciate, at the risk of immodesty, the permanent secretary, General Services, who is my permanent secretary, and the permanent secretary, Human Resource, another of my permanent secretaries, and the senior permanent secretaries who are here, they gave their support. They embraced and supported it. My confidence in this initiative was strengthened after I discussed this issue with His Excellency Mr. Governor, and he gave his full support. Accordingly, on the 1st of July 2023, we issued a circular prohibiting the use of paper in my office, but wanted to start like that. And also informed the service that we will no longer be accepting physical files and paper from any MDA. Our thinking was that from this small beginning in the office of the HOS, we would extend the no paper initiative in phases to cover the entirety of the service. To give effect to this, we embarked on another word round. You remember what I said about word round earlier? When we took the message round, we were no longer accepting paper and tried to build the confidence of our staff in this workability. As we expected, multifarious concerns were raised at these interactive sessions, and we took copious notes with a view to addressing them. But in spite of our best efforts, this initiative had very limited success. I would say maybe about 30% success rate. In fact, I hope my secretary is not here, but I'll say it. In fact, my secretary in the office was the first to flout it. It was the very first. Nearly 1 week after the circular, and in spite of several internal sessions, I kept being inundated with physical files. It was so funny that the secretary himself had, perhaps unwittingly, introduced unwritten exclusion clauses into the circular and had continued to accept files from MDAs whom he thought were not prepared or strong enough for the change. On every occasion, he made a strong case to justify his action, and I like him for that. But it was not his fault. He's a product of the old order. And being state chapter chairman of the Nigerian Union of Rapportorial, Secretarial, Data Processing, and Allied Workers in the Service, it was obvious he was acting to protect his job. And those of his colleagues who had variously expressed the fear that the tech introduction would run them out of their jobs. Happily, some of the NDAs complied immediately, and this gave us the hope that with some more effort, we would succeed. The limited success of this initiative initially gave us the feeling to do two things. First, we realized that we had not done enough sensitization, and thus we needed to do more, particularly to address the expressed concerns. We also thought to speed up training on the use of the AROP. Secondly, we realized that since the MDAs were still using paper internally, restricting the directive on the use of paper to the office of the HOL was like the proverbial ostrich hiding his head in the sand and thinking that it was not visible to the outside world. Because it was just our office. So they would do their thing with paper internally. When it was time to transmit to us, they would do electronically. It was not producing the desired result. It was never going to work, and we needed to do more. The option was to apply the directive to the whole service continuously. I discussed it with the governor, and he agreed immediately. They said, what? On the 9th, in May 2023, His Excellency nominated me and some other staff to attend that year's ID for Africa Digital Identity Conference in Nairobi, Kenya. And that's something we should try to do. It's quite good. It helped us well. If not for the quality of the lectures there, but the networking gave us the opportunity to do. In fact, on one of the days, we went to Nairobi, ICT, and we had a chat with them. Kenya is one of the countries that prides itself as one of the best ICT in Africa, along with South Africa. So they told us all that they have done federally. By the time we started speaking, I would told them how we had adopted and all of that, with those limited success. They were proud. So subnational has done that, but it helped us. to grow in confidence and then to exchange ideas as to how to deal. The program lasted from 23rd to 25th, I think to 26th actually, of May. Mr. Governor joined us on the second day. On the night immediately preceding our departure from Kenya, Mr. Bosun Tijani, who was later appointed Minister of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy, I'm sure he's still there, right? Hosted His Excellency and Pulse to a dinner. After the dinner, I mentioned to His Excellency that I thought it was important to set a definite cut-off date to eliminate paper from the system entirely. His Excellency immediately supported and in fact promised there and then that he would formally approve the request as soon as I presented it. In fact, characteristically, he asked, where is the memo? Unfortunately, I didn't have the memo there. And you know, this is a governor. I tell you something, I said it some 2 days ago. Once the governor asked me, that was last year, where is it? No, 2 years ago. Where is the file for promotion? And I said, okay, we have not done the financial implication. It's the financial implication for promotion. Is that the way you're thinking? How can you be thinking like that? People who are deserving of promotion, promote them. Why did I answer the way I answered? Because that was the norm. Before you do anything about promotion, financial implication. We don't do financial implication now for promotions. Wow. And as of today, Mr. Governor has approved January 2024 promotions. So he asked, where is the memo? Signaling his intention to immediately approve it. And I said I was not quite ready. We agreed on my proposed July 1st, 2023 as a cut-off date. But we needed to approach this issue carefully. We could impose it if we liked. But we knew what limited success we had with the initial effort that restricted paper, that took out paper from our office. But we needed to approach this carefully. We could, okay, I've said that. So we agreed to workshop it to get the buy-in of everyone. Again, this is important. Workshops, very important. Put people in a place, but always talk to them, ensure that everyone is on the same page. The preparations for this workshop unfortunately forced us to push the effective date by 2 months. But soon after, His Excellency surprised all of us. And this was the veritable game changer. He gave a directive that from July 1st, which was the original date he proposed, paper files or documents will no longer be accepted in his office. Do you understand what I've just said? We were to do ours on July 1st. We couldn't because we were preparing. By that date, he had told everybody not bring a part of the office. So from this point, everybody knew that this was not the usual thing. This was the game changer. From that point, no official in the system was left in any doubt that this was serious business. While this was going on, we continued with the preparation of our workshop. The workshop eventually held on July 5th, 2023. During the workshop, I think most of the honorable commissioners, special advisors, and permanent secretaries were present. After the initial lectures on EGOV and M5, we broke into technical sessions. We were intentional about these sections. Our overarching objective was to agree on the feasibility of the date proposed and to extract firm commitment from the leadership of the service to ensure its success. As I said earlier, you have an idea in your mind, but rather than impose it, you call the people, you put their and drill down and let them own it. Because if you do that, they're not seeing you as someone who just imposed something. And so they are more readily able and willing to accept the idea and work with it than when you just impose it on them. So that's what we did. There were 3 syndicate sessions, and they were led by honorable commissioners daily, even though they had just been appointed. This set of commissioners, they had just come in. We thought it was important we committed them to this assignment. The issues were mainly to determine the workability of the proposed deal and what preparations needed to be made to ensure success. At a point during this time, we were seeing that certain things were not going well. It was like they were going to ship the date again. So we entered, started talking to the commissioners, and they were able to, at the end of the day, carry the ball along, and we all agreed that the date was feasible. It was a huge success. We all agreed that the September date didn't work. The intent behind the workshop had been achieved. And for me, from then on, Success will depend on how hard we worked, The NDICTA, PS Human Resource Transformation, PS Agri, who was formerly PS Transformation, and then PS Digital Economy, Science and Technology were all and are still integral parts of this effort, and I've been very committed to seeing it succeed. They have led from the front in this project and are eminently deserving of my commendation. I thank them all. Huge thanks for giving so much support to this project. People don't understand this. Secretary of State Government is not the one who makes noise. The support that the SNJ has given to this project has been so phenomenal and monumental that every step of the way is always important. And we appreciate him for it. And there's somebody here that I would like to appreciate. He was with Greenfields, and I'm sure you guys know who I mean. Isaac, please can you get up so we can appreciate him. He is now special advisor strategy to the government. This man has been a pillar to us on the team. We are very, very grateful. Then after we intensified our communication efforts, and on a daily basis, the sub-teams went around. The MDIC team was set up around the PS ICTA. Mrs. Okolu, is she here? Yes, sir. Thank you. So much more. She had just retired from the service, but we appointed her as a consultant. 2 reasons. First, her knowledge and experience were invaluable to the success of the project. Second, we also wanted to save the signal. Now, all this while external people were coming as consultants. Okay, you have your own now. So let's see whether you quarrel with them. And we have 5 or 6 of them as consultants now. We deliberate. So it's not as if we just appointed people. Anyhow. This team, that is the M&E team, had the responsibility of separately undertaking full-time the assignment of evaluating progress on a day-to-day basis. That's our work. Just going around with my team, seeing how much success we're having, what challenges we're having, and how to address them. His Excellency ensured that we gave a report of development on this front weekly at ESCO. That's to underscore the importance of that the government attaches to it. In our reports, we made use of our back end. Again, this is something that you can sell to your chief executives. Covered data on how each MDA was doing and specific areas in which they were lacking behind. This served its purpose of creating healthy competition among MDAs, firing the desire of the respective leadership to do better the next report days. We gave a report. If an MDA was at 30%, the next week you will see, because it was clear to everybody. So we're not naming and shaming anyone, but we just wanted to engender a situation of healthy competition among the MDAs, and it worked. It was like magic. The Honorable Commissioners and Permanent Secretaries started making personal efforts to up the ante in their respective MDAs. In fact, to underscore its importance, excuse me, Mr. Governor ensured that this weekly report on IGOL was made the very first item on the agenda of every executive council meeting, and it remains so to date. It is the first item that we address in ESCO, the very first, every ESCO day. Here, we give a report of how much progress we are making and also the challenges, and together we find a way around them. His Excellency gave the project 100% support by leading by example, and at every opportunity speaking in support of the project. Indeed, even when difficult questions were raised at ESCO, and sometimes I will tell myself, I'm going to leave that question for my opponent to answer. Who is my opponent in this case? NDICTA. But HE stepped in and provided answers himself. The political will and support were and have been unequivocal and total. Permit me. Then came September 1, 2023, and we cut off all paper for the system. By that action, the promise of Mr. Governor to be the last governor in those states of 3 fiscal files was achieved. We do not lay claim to being 100% perfect, but we have successfully pioneered this effort. That has become an example of this possibility for other states to follow, and we are very glad to provide support to any of the great states if and whenever called upon to do so, Mr. Governor has given his commitment on this. We are also continually improving and exploring other possibilities and growing the project in leaps and bounds. In August this year, we'll be hosting a technology conference, and we intend to use this conference to showcase our achievements in the area of employing the use of technology to run government and taking the project to its next level. The technology conference will serve as a solid and safe space for tech talents and startups to network, build local solutions for their environment, expand their horizons, and strengthen the ecosystem. Now, I tell you something. People who think that investment in tech, even though it's quite expensive, that is investment that will not bring return on investment at all, that's a big lie. What we know, and we've researched this, upon which services can be layered. Today, across the state, we have a connection. So any company that is coming into this state right now to do digital business will not need to create another one. They will have to come to us to leverage what we have. And they will have to pay without any question. So you find that at the end of the day, your investment is not lost. You have only provided a foundation that many things can be layered on, and there will be return on investment. It may not happen now, but it will happen later. Now, the goal of the conference, to encourage networking, to provide strategic platform, to enhance visibility and exposure of talents, to provide a platform for talents to understand government policies, to foster public-private partnerships. You can't do without it. Very important. To provide networking opportunities for young people, and then to inspire innovation. Somebody talked about innovation 2 days ago, one of our officers. Again, I'd like to, if there's any EduGov agent here, EduGov change agent, are you here? How many of you are here? No, but just get up, let's recognize you. SARS and MARS, if you're to succeed, then you must commit the project to these young people. Identify young and talented people from across the NDAs. Each NDA has how many? 2 in the project, and there are people that are quite good. You know, these young people, they are better than us in tech. So for them, it's not something that is difficult. So these guys are taking this initiative. They are the ones who respond first if there are issues in any of the NDA before the thing is, transmitted to us. So thank you very much for your support so far. We are hoping to obtain the support and buy-in of the private sector into our tech program. One of our prominent Edo sons, Mitchell Elegbe, who is the CEO of InterSwitch, arguably the biggest e-payment platform in Nigeria. How many of you know that from Edo State? And a powerful player in Nigeria's technology landscape, chairs the planning committee. I am deputy to him. And we are really working excitedly forward to elicit private sector support for this project to ensure sustainability. People talked about sustainability. What will happen after the governor leaves? The governor is someone who has thought through this process. So he's laying the blocks and the foundations to ensure that there's no going back. I'll give you an instance. One of the reasons why we took the decision to ensure that by September 1, we must do cutoff was that we thought that if we do e-governance consistently without interruption for 1 year before the next administration comes, the e-governance project will have become so entrenched in the system because you don't have any other way of working. It's through the computer, e-gov. And in 1 year, many people would have forgotten paper if we're able to really address it. So by the time the next administration comes, it will have no choice than to just fit in. That was the thinking. So it was not just something that happened just like that. Technology has taken over our way of doing things. It has radically disrupted the old methods. So we either embrace its wonders or be left behind in shadows of the past. For this reason, the Edo State government has invested heavily in technology as the way of developing human capacity. We're almost done. Some other major challenges, one of them is cost. In truth, technology is not cheap. To worsen matters, it keeps evolving. You have technology now, you think you have the best, tomorrow you have another one. So you must update. This cost element is a major disincentive for investments by government, particularly subnationals. I didn't have that difficulty of having to convince my boss to get this done. You may have that difficulty because my boss is somebody who understands this things. The initiative flowed from him, and it was easy for us. In fact, anytime, the biggest investment I'm sure that we have now is in e-governance. Anything that is good that will help the system grow and develop, they approve of it. I don't know how much difficulty you will have if you have a governor that is not like that. But you don't have to advise. I will have to keep pushing. And with the fact that we have some example of success, and then let's see what happens. The DG Brain also committed yesterday to taking this matter up at the level of the governors. And so I'm sure when our governor is able to speak with his colleagues, it will be a lot easier when you talk to him. On the same side of the coin is the fact that investment in technology is not attractive. I said that before, because citizens do not see that as a major investment. They cannot relate to it, and they are not enthused about it. In Edo State, there's a saying that's becoming increasingly popular. I don't know if you have heard it, that if you cannot earmark something, that thing does not exist. Unfortunately, most tech investments are likely non-physical, unlike investment in roads and other physical infrastructure, which every citizen can see and relate to. So only governments with an understanding of the importance of digital transformation and its impact on governance and the future, and those with still like commitment and determination like the one we have in Edo, can venture into such investments. As heads of service, we have the responsibility of advising, continuously advising our chief executives. You know, Pastor Chris used to say something, keep saying it, keep saying it, keep saying it. If he doesn't listen today, tomorrow he will listen. Okay, we must advise our chief executives on an informed basis on the benefits of digitalization, and part of this is to study and research these issues thoroughly to be able to advise our bosses. This, if we must succeed on this call, is an imperative. Personally, I've taken courses and researched several aspects of our digitalization process, and every opportunity I've had to develop myself, I've seized it. I urge you to do the same. Infrastructure deficits, digital literacy gaps, and cybersecurity concerns are also veritable challenges to success in public service digitalization. These have to be addressed to ensure an inclusive and sustainable transition. Our governments need to heavily invest in building a robust digital infrastructure, expanding internet connectivity, and providing training and capacity building programs to equip its workforce with the skills it needs to develop and grow its digital economy. Furthermore, cybersecurity measures have to be strengthened to safeguard sensitive data and protect against cyber threats. Again, this is where you must take leadership. Cybersecurity is not the business of the experts alone. It is the business of everyone. And the heads of service must take the initiative. We're working on that to ensure, because once there's a breach, that itself is a big minus for the system. We have had how many attacks? NDIC. How many attacks over the last 1 year? 500 attempts to hack into our system. Over the last how many months? Over the last 6 months. Does that tell a story? So, but we have a lot of things to strengthen our system. We have what we call multi-factor authentication, MFA. And you know, it's single factor authentication. These guys are training so much. Just the thing, but beyond that, layers. So if you want to break into it, let me first layer. There are many mails that are quarantined in my system. When they suspect it, they capture it. And luckily, in the NBICTA's, I said luckily, it's a product of investment. You can see everything that's happening in the system. Everything. Everything. Where the problems are, you can see them. What is being done, of course, responsibility, you can see. So the system is so beautiful, and it's not something that you should be left out of. We are in phase 2 down of the project, which the governor admirably called or codenamed eGov 2.0. And here we are working on extending the project to local governments and other arms of government. We're also seriously conversing on the adoption of artificial intelligence, and I said it before, and this is part of our strategic plan of action. Again, this is important. Our government is not someone who goes into it without a plan. We have the 2024 strategic plan of action, which we developed and the government approved before we started working. Okay, but I must make the point, digital transformation is a journey. It is not a destination. It requires vision, it requires leadership, it requires collaboration. As I mentioned yesterday, leadership must be demonstrated across all levels of public service. There is need to embrace this transformation, take power, and shape a brighter future for all. We must be open to the idea of embracing emerging technologies like AI, blockchain, and IoT, prioritize data, privacy, and ethical considerations, foster partnerships and collaborations, and embed digital transformation into the DNA of the bureaucracy. I don't think I need to talk about the EduInnovate. That's one establishment the governor has created to take the process beyond the now. They have trained over 61,000 Edo youths in tech, a lot of things. Okay, so there's the aspect that I may not really talk too much about, but I just told them to project what we have done with the e-transformation scheme. Maybe we'll make that conversation digital, one for another. But it's something that has been so revolutionary. I have done an article on it. Perhaps you can research it. Where's my PA? Project the article on this day, from 2 years ago when we started. And the initiatives, the idea behind it, yeah, public service transformation, the new fleet management system focus. So you can take a look at it, so you can know exactly how we took this one and what we did to consummate it. Conclusion. I would like to conclude this presentation exactly where I started, by quoting the comment of the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Digital transformation is not just about technology. It is about unlocking the potential of government to serve citizens better, to be more responsive, more efficient, more effective. It is about building a government that is truly of the people. How many of us remember that definition of democracy? By the people and for the people, not just the people, but people of the 21st century. It's important to re-emphasize that as we navigate the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century, embracing digital technology is not just a choice, it is a necessity for progress and development. In particular, the digitalization of the public service in sub-Saharan Africa holds immense promise for transforming governance, enhancing service delivery, and driving inclusive growth. The BRICS states are not an exception. By embracing digital technology and harnessing the power of innovation, we can build a brighter future for generations to come. Let us seize this opportunity to build more responsive, accountable, and efficient governments that truly serve the needs of all citizens. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. You know, this part of the retreat just took everybody back to school, because it was really detailed and highly intellectual. Once again, let's put our hands together for our digital head of service at those states for this lecture. Wow. I know at this point that we will need to stretch, but before we go on our short break, we'd like to take just 5 questions. Just 5. That's if we have. If we don't have, all fantastic, but I believe we should have like 5 questions. But if we don't have, we should have. We should have. You know, they say local balance as the hot. We can't go after the break to take the questions. We just take 5, or less than 5. We have number 1, number 2. Okay, number 1, number 2. I saw one hand here just now. Number 3, number 4, and number 5. Someone help me with my mic. Thank you. Yes, let's just start with the DG Brace Commission number 1.
Thank you very much, Hello Service of Edo State. This is highly interesting and revealing on how Edo succeeded in the mission they set for itself. Mine is not a question. Mine is an appeal to all the heads of service in this world and to the permanent secretaries. I don't know what it is these days, but I'm sure that our elder statesman here, who himself was a former permanent secretary at the federal level, will confirm. When you go on a conference and return home, you are expected to write a report with your recommendations. Am I still going on? So my appeal to you all is that please, if you do not do anything else, do a memo on this and send to your principal. Whatever else he does, forget, but do the memo, do your own first, and let's see what begins. Make all the arguments you have to make in your memo. And anytime you see him or her, no, you don't have her governor yet. So it's a challenge to all the young ladies in the house. Do that, please. Because it also makes it easier when they come to the governor's meeting. They would have read your memo, their minds would have been prepared, and when your governor is raising the issue and discussing with them, it becomes difficult for them to, begin to oppose it. But one thing we must all realize is, if we do not do it today, we'll do it tomorrow. And by tomorrow, it will be more expensive. As we have all learned from the economic situation in Nigeria, if we're planning to buy a house and you are procrastinating, it's even more difficult to buy that house today because the costs have gone off the roof. In appealing to the heads of service, I also want to reach out to the permanent secretaries. You have a major role to play to support them as well. So when you go back, begin to prepare the minds of your officers that change is around the corner. It's inevitable. It is inevitable. You must do it today. And I will end by, we've been having a debate with some of my friends. Some of them want America destroyed. So they want Trump back in power. And my question is, why do you want America destroyed? It doesn't make sense to me. But somebody else posted about 40 to 50 items that originated from America. The internet we are discussing. The Chinese just borrowed and expanded it. So it started from the United States. Virtually everything you can think of, they all grew out of the United States. And the rest of the world took it and ran with it. So what am I trying to say? It's very simple. Edo has done something. The rest of you must take it and run with it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Number 2, please.
What protocol My name is Mr. Iriake Mejuro from Office of the Head of Service, Delta State. I want to thank our Head of Service. There is no doubt the lecture was an erudite, is an erudite study. The process of digitalizing those states' public service, no doubt, was truly exposed. But however, I raised up a question which at the end of the day was answered during the challenges. Because that question has to do with cyber security. You know, looking into the future can be thought-provoking when you talk about digitalization and also digitalization. Because in this era of cyber security and artificial intelligence, you know, cybersecurity and artificial intelligence is something that's interconnected in various ways. You know, as technology grows, so also cyber threats and innovation are increasing. Actually, it is crucial for one to stay ahead. You made mention that multiple layers has been done by your system, so that not only to track, but also to do away with all this. Please, I would also want to expound a little bit on that, what has been done by this digital process to tackle this threat. Now, my other one is a contribution on the issue of sustainability. You said you have made lasting blocks for opportunity. I just want to contribute, if you permit me. I feel that if you can put legal frameworks in place, I know you talked about it in your last lecture. In addition to that, to make it well fortified, I still believe that if the House of Assembly, by way of legislation, to make these things institutionalized, so that this sustainability can be made fair. Thank you.
Next question, please.
My digital head of service, standing on the already established protocol. Mine is not a question, but I want to thank you. I'm Mr. Henry Omori, comrade, the Vice Chairman of the Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria here in Edo State. I want to thank you that digitalizing the system or digitizing the system and the reforms that has happened in the civil service has not been one that has caused loss of jobs, has not been one that has seen to the sack of workers. It has been one that has really added value to the workforce. I want to tell those that have come from our sister states, if you look at the faces of workers in Edo State, you can tell without asking questions how much value that this system, the reforms in the service, has added to the welfare of the civil servants. You know, the head of service said something that when the journey started, we at the labor side, we came asking, because all we've known in the past about reform is downsizing. But when it happened in Edo State, should I use the word of sizing? Because it led to the increase in workforce. And I want to say right now, in the whole of Nigeria, I can stand on that and say that Edo State has the highest number of computer literate civil servants. And I want to thank the head of service for standing side by side with His Excellency the Governor of Edo State to ensure that this dream comes true. And we are waiting for the next governor, and when that time comes, he has no option than to continue with this journey. We have not gotten to our destination, but we have left where we are coming from, and we hope to see more.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Former Governor of Edo State and all heads of service present. I am Dr. Ewe Rita Samoba. I have come to lend my voice to that of our digital head of service, to the Grace State. That's when you run with this vision that has been brought before you, that you should not drop the ball. There might be challenges along the way, just like our digital head of service have told you, but don't be discouraged. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Do not drop the ball. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the last question.
My name is Victor Okenini, Director of Establishment, Manpower Accounting, Office of the Head of Service. Mine is just to thank our Head of Service for that impeccable paper, for the flawless paper, and also appreciate him for driving the transformation initiative in Edo State. Let me quickly say that what is happening in Edo State between Mr. Governor and our Head of Service, Dr. Okunwa Esquire, is akin to what happened between Simeon Adebo and Chief Obafemi Awolowo in the then Western region. That cooperation brought a lot of development to the then Western region, and that's what we're experiencing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Excellencies, and the DG, my colleagues as well. Let me first of all thank everyone who has said beautiful things about what we have been doing. But in reality, this has succeeded largely because you supported it. And so, the appreciation should actually go to you and not to me. Every step of the way, I mean, it's not 1 year, 2 years, and a service that had very few computer literate people has now moved to a point where the only way you work is through computer. If you hadn't supported it, it would never have worked. Believe me. And this is where I also appreciate them. Every time that it came around, they expressed genuine concerns. We do this. Go and tell me, I didn't go and tell it. Because I know the kind of governor they will not want to do. Now, what we converse, and I say, okay, what about this, what about that? And because he has the knowledge and the desire, he's still, you know the governor now, once he gets, believe that something will be good for the system, he goes for it. So, but labor has been very, very heavy. The director of establishment knows we used to have, we stopped it at some point, but we're going back there. We used to have quarterly interactions with them. And that I said, maybe that's what my colleagues can also adopt. Yeah. So when an issue is coming up, you let them know. We discuss it with them. They can express some observations or convince them first. If you succeed in convincing them, you've done more than 80% of the work. They are the ones who will go back to their people to say this thing is good. So when you go to talk to them like we have been talking with them, it's been very easy because of the groundwork that these guys have done. So Labour, thank you very much for what you have done. Thank you, we appreciate it. So questions? Excuse me.
I said we love you, sir.
Oh, thank you. I love you too. The first question was on ghost workers. MDICT, are you here? Please come. Come, please. Isaac, please come. You know, sometimes when questions are difficult, not say this is difficult, I leave them for my opponents to answer. These are our opponents for this, in this instance. What are we doing with ghost workers. One of the things we have begun to see lately is the fact that people just go in. We have seen a lot of japa in the system. In fact, I decided one time to take a census of the people who were living in the system. I was very deliberate and intentional. So we started with the Ministry of Health. In fact, just HND. And between January and August of last year, over 100 people left. 100, one establishment. What that means is that a lot more people can see it every day. Now, because of the stance that we've taken, people are now telling us they want to go. Before, they would just go. And sometimes salaries will continue. Because you don't sign anything nowadays. Every month, salary goes into it. So what we are currently doing what you may loosely call personnel audit. And it's a huge assignment. Every MDA has had to come separately. He's leading that team. That's why I said he should speak about it. So you now have to sign as the permanent secretary and MDA. We will look at, because we're transiting from Oracle to Adobe to pay salaries. And that's something that you can also do when your system matures. Because the government feels, why do we have to have an analogous system? When we have ego and we've invested so much in it, that can do everything. So why don't we use it to do our business and also pay salaries? So we took ourselves majorly or substantially out of Oracle about 6 months ago, at the beginning of this year. But the Office of the Accountant General still uses Oracle. So we're now currently doing a lot to effect that transition from Oracle to Adobe. So it will be easier for us to monitor. That system, that effort has involved a lot. So currently, we're working. So at the end of the day, an NDA with the permanent secretary or the head of the NDA will have to sign that you have this and this and this and this number of people in your employment. You have to commit to ensuring that when they leave, you have to inform us. In any case, we have our own ways now of doing that. So that's one thing that has been happening. So I will ask Isaac to talk about that a bit more because he's leading that, but just a minute. Then cyber security. I said it yesterday. When you close your door, it doesn't mean that thieves cannot break into your house. And I gave the example yesterday that in my own area, those days, not too long ago, they will leave the door that you locked, bore a hole on your fence, access your compound, and bore a hole on your wall and access your room. So you locked your door, they have entered. But you lock your door, not because thieves cannot enter your house. You lock your door because you make it difficult for them to enter. So by the time they are boring holes, it's not as easy as when you just open it and then they can walk in and come out. So cybersecurity is like that. There is no system in the world that is completely safe, 100%. So what you should do is to try to lock the door, which we are doing here. So the multi-factor authentication is that the single factor is PIN, all right? You assess the PIN. So what if somebody knows your PIN? So but there are other layers. That's what we call the multi-factor authentication. You meet one, you meet a second, you meet a third, you meet a fourth. And that's what we're doing. And I'm sure my other opponents are talking about that. Sustainability. Yeah, that's the issue somebody raised, but it was a comment. Institutionalization by virtue of a law. Again, I told you the difference. I'm a draftsman of laws. That my LLM is in legal drafting. And I've come to realize with the work I've done, I worked before as director of legal drafting. One of the things I have come to realize, laws, yes, they're good, but laws can be changed any minute. And we have seen that happen. I told you the story of when we had to change the laws. The House of Assembly was sitting. They were waiting for us. And the majority leader, former deputy governor, came to us. We worked on it. 1 hour. He changed the law that had been there for like 8 years. So it's not foolproof. But the point is, it is something you should do. Again, because it takes a while. Even if it's 1 hour, to 30 minutes, if you take a while to change it up. But one thing that we haven't been doing in this country is citizen sensitization concerning the laws has not been there. So many citizens don't even know what laws we have. That's number one. So if they knew when there's going to be a change in any of the laws, because they're supposed to be first reading, second reading, committee stay, all of these things are processes in the law-making cycle. From when the bill enters the legislative chamber and when it emerges after the heat of the legislative business, the people are supposed to know. So when they know, if we do that properly and they know that taking the law out will affect their interests, they will fight against it. And that's why we must at every time encourage NGOs. Because there are NGOs that are involved in good governance and they will take issues like this up. So it's something that is not bad, but beyond that, we must make effort. Yeah, the issue of addition of value. Again, this is the key to what we have been doing. If it will not add value to the system, we will not do it. So this is the ASIC test, I don't know what they call it. It must pass through that test. If e-governance is not adding value to our system, we will not do it. If any action that we are to take in the system is not going to add value, we will not take it. And that's the position the government has always had. So every time as a system, we must work to build the system in such a way as to effect value addition to the steps and actions that we're taking. So at this stage, let me leave it for my opponents to deal. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. To respond to the question on ghost workers, but the way I'd like to go about it is just to say a few things, just like a little build up. In Edo State, we have a vision to be the best state to live and prosper in by the year 2050. That's our vision. And for us to achieve that, it's been said repeatedly here that the public service is the engine that will drive us to that destination. And for us to have the kind of public service that will take us to that destination, we need people who are inspired and motivated to do their work, right? And for that to happen, one of those things that makes workers motivated is to have the right kind of salaries being paid to them. And for us to achieve that, we needed to block wastages. And we needed to be sure the number of people we have in the service. So today in Edo State, for you to be a staff, you must be onboarded into the system. And what do I mean by onboarding? You have to go for your biometrics capture. Once we capture your biometrics, we have your data, we onboard you into the system. We'll give you an email account that now makes you a staff. Other unique identifiers we have within the system, such that you cannot be two people in one, is that we take your NIN, your NIMC identification, which cannot be duplicated, right? Such that everybody within the system has a unique identifier and is submitted and uploaded into the system. Having done all of this at entry, we then discover that there are other ways. People come to work, people get engaged, but don't do any work and get paid. And one of the ways these things happen very easily is what is enshrined in the service that is called parent updating our records, and by the end of July, there are some people who we have their names now, but we don't have their bank details. And the heads of those organizations are able to provide the bank details. And it's strange to us. This is something we've been doing for 2 to 3 months. So how come we don't have your bank details and you're in our system? It means the person is nowhere around. If you're around, we'll know by the end of this month because you will get your salaries paid. So any person who doesn't have complete information today, as we are updating, by July 26th, which is payment date, you won't get your salary. So if you're really a staff of EDSG, when you don't get your salary on July 26th, you will come forth. Those guys that don't come forth, we would already have eliminated them from the system. So by July 26th, hopefully by August 26th, we'll be sure how many people we have on our database that will pay salaries. Based on whatever savings we see from that, we may be able to increase the salaries of workers in Edo State. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, if you don't look at the collective department, we don't give it back. It's already there.
Your Excellency, sir, and every dignitaries present, I'm to speak to how we handle the issue of cybersecurity in Edo State. My name is Goodluck Benedict. I'm the Managing Director of the SCT agency. Now, the issue of cybersecurity is a complex one and very technical. When you talk about security, especially in the IT world, there's something you don't see in the public because they're very, very sensitive. I will try to make it a bit basic. Now, there is a saying or a proverb that says, a chain is as strong as its weakest link. So what that means is that if we are all teamed together, now the weakest point person in that chain can break the whole chain. So therefore, in technology, when you talk about security, the people using the technology are very, very key. And who are the people in this case? They are the staff of EDSG. Now, let me go back to the infrastructure. When we set up our data center, it's for a purpose. One of the purposes is that I prefer to take care of my own children. I believe I can take care of my children more than anybody else. So, under the instruction of His Excellency, we were directed to bring all our data everywhere in the world, bring them down to our data center, so that we can have full control of what is happening to those data and who have access to it and what they are doing in that environment. So that was a very big step that we took in Edo State. You know, AWS is expensive, and we have other cloud services provider over there that are not as expensive as AWS. So we be tempted to go and put your data there. That is risky. Okay? So we brought them down to our data center where we have over 9 layers of security architecture, and we can monitor who have access to it, when, and what they do with each of the data. Now, that's one step. The other step, as my HOS has said, every time we go out, we get feedback from users. Question on cybersecurity, it helps us to fine-tune our architecture. So the next thing we did was to build a disaster recovery center. That's a DHAB outside Edo State. Because if you put both primary and secondary in the same state, what if that state is shut down? That means everything is shut down. So we have our DHAB that is backing up every day whatever is being stored at our data center. So it means that if the primary goes down, we can still have access to our data intact. So that is done. Now, on the people's side, we have to train our users. First of all, the way we architect our network, you cannot have access to our resources if you are not identified. The system will identify you as a person. The system will identify the device you are using. So like my HS has said, from our control room, even on my mobile, I can monitor what you do per second. Now, does it mean we monitor everything? No. There are some category of people that we have to get the approval of HOS or His Excellency before we take that. But whatever we do on our network and resources, we can monitor it. Now, my HOS also mentioned how we extend fiber optic to the 18 local government. What we achieve using that is that you have one government. The same experience, the same resources, the same infrastructure, the same services that people in the globe, in Benin Central are enjoying, they enjoy it there as well. So if you run away from Benin, go to Agada, thinking maybe we will not see you, if you plug into our network, we will see you. Also, we have, because Edo State is not digital, the world is mobile. So we have the mobile version of the Edo Go, meaning you can work anywhere in the world. And you have a secured access from wherever you have, because people, it's a normal practice for those high-tech guys, they just go hide under a service provider. They may be in Nigeria, operating from US or from India, so that they can get access to you. So, but with our security, we will know where you are coming from, and all the IP address you use will trace it. So, before you, just like my HR said, before you can join, you have to be onboarded. We have an active directory that houses all the identity of our staff, of our workers. We also create for also our consultants. So if a consultant comes to our territory, we know how to give them access and monitor that access. I think I will stop for now.
Wow. In summary, before we go for the break, I've spoken about the need for technology, the need for the right people, and the need for the right processes. And also, he had mentioned the investment in the people, in capacity development. He also mentioned the learning and development culture, which involves training and retraining. He also talked about word round, which will help you to discuss the idea, feedback on the idea, and buy-in on the idea. And also, digital transformation is a journey, not a destination. And that journey requires leadership. And finally, the digital future is here, and you cannot afford to be left behind. Ladies and gentlemen, at this note, we have come to the end of the morning session. This is the time we will go for our short break. And in the civil service, there is hierarchy, so we'll allow our heads of service and our special guests to go first, and after then, permanent secretaries, and after then, the heads of MPAs, and after then, the rest of us. Thank you so much, and we'll see you after the break.